Yo, patrons! This is Johannes from Noisebot, and today I'm going to talk about two things. First, there's an update for Hmmm, and I'm going to talk about the issues in Wavelab and why they exist and why I can't do anything about it right now. I usually find a way eventually, but right now I can't do anything. So let's start by having a look at the new version. I've loaded both the last version 1.10 and version 1.11. And yeah, Solid is here as well. Solid is the next plugin. We're going to talk about that another day. It's a really cool plugin. All right, this is version 1.10. So what's changed? I cut away a huge chunk of latency from So if we watch the latency down here, it's that 43,114 in this. And this is a project set at 44,100 hertz sample rate. And the latency is 43,114 samples, which is a lot. So if we have a look at version 1.11, so now we have loaded 1.11 and we have a look at the same number. It's 8,462. I cut away pretty much all the latency. Well, there's still a lot of latency because this is a heavy plugin and it's high resolution and it uses FFT. So I need a little bit of latency. But if you compare version 1.10 with 1.11, it's a huge difference. It's like the hugest difference ever. The thing is that the way I changed the calculations may cause issues. So I'm gonna keep version 1.10, the setup files for version 1.10 on Patreon in case you find an issue with version 1.11. I have been using this for a week and I haven't had any issues at all. It seems to work perfectly fine. I haven't noticed that something's different, but you never know. So just in case, I'm going to keep version 1.10 available. And if you install 1.10, install version 1.11, but keep version 1.10. My plugins so far, or right now, the way I do things is that you can run several versions of the same plugin, so you can choose which one to work with. I do that for a lot of reasons, but so this is one of the reasons. It's really practical if you like a version, but you also want the news, the latest stuff in another track, then you kind of want both plugins. I do anyway. Alright, that's it about Hmmm and the update. Go and get it, and it's available on Patreon right now. So just download it, have fun with it, and let's go over to talk about Wavelab. If you don't use Wavelab, goodbye. You don't have to see the rest of the video. If you use Wavelab, this is just for your information. I won't fix anything for you, but I will just talk a little bit about Wavelab. I got a report from a user that some of my plugins cut away the intro of songs when rendered in Wavelab. And I thought that this is strange. So I dived a little bit deeper into that. I contacted Steinberg and talked to them. And it turns out that they calculate, or they treat plugins a little bit different when they render something in Wavelab. I don't think they do that in Cubase, really, or Nuendo, but Wavelab does this different, and I don't know why. The thing is that there are two ways of... I'm trying to simplify this, so... bear with me. There's two ways to report latency for a plugin. You have one latency that is reported when the plugin is initiated. And many developers set, I do that in some plugins as well, set latency like 200 milliseconds or samples or 50 samples or something, just a static number. And they know that the processes that needs to take place won't need this much latency. So if you report 50 samples, maybe it needs 40. So you have a span of 10 samples where you can, you have a little wiggle room. And this is one way of doing it. And then you calculate the real processing that's needed and adjust against that static latency that you reported initially. That's one way of doing it. The other way you can do it is to report zero latency or any number for a couple of times when the plugin is initiated. And in the background, you calculate the real latency while you're just reporting zero latency. And when you have calculated the latency, then you send out the correct latency to the DAW. And the DAW usually adjusts. And Wavelab adjusts as well. It does. It's just that it starts to write the file at the same time as they initiate the plugin. Which means that if a plugin hasn't calculated its latency yet, it needs a little while to do that. The file will be silent until it gets the real value and the plugin starts to work the way it's intended to work. Most DAW handle this. There's nothing wrong with any of the ways. Both ways are perfectly valid according to the VST3 standard. And this is the weird thing, because the VST3 standards is made by Steinberg, the same company as that make Wavelab, so they are aware of this. But they don't initiate the plugins, let the plugins calculate their latency before you start to write the file when rendering. They start to write the file directly. They initiate the plugins and start to write the files at the same times when you hit render. And according to me, that's wrong. It's not wrong according to the VST3 specs. But to report latency later isn't wrong either. So none of the concepts or way of doing it is wrong, but it just makes plugins that use one of the methods useless in Wavelab, at least if the plugin with a lot of latency. And I, as a developer, can't fix this because it's built into my framework, and the framework isn't made by me. If I was coding all my plugins from scratch in C++ and didn't rely on any framework, then I could change this, but I can't do that. I'm just waiting at this point. I reported to Steinberg. I hope they come around. I had the same issue as actually with Reaper, but Cuckoo's changed how they do things so that all plugins start to work. I think that's the correct way of doing it. If Steinberg can fix this, and they can do it pretty easily. It's not a hard fix for them. But I can't fix it because I'm stuck with, or I'm using a framework that I can't leave that really. It's too much work. I'm just one person. And even if I was a big company with a lot of resources, I probably would think that it's better if Steinberg fixed this. Because if they do it, everything will start to work immediately. And the different plugin developers won't have to do anything. It will just start to work, pretty much. All right, so that's my rant about Steinberg and Wavelab, and now at least I know, and you know, why some of my plugins behave like that in Wavelab, and It's also not a bug. Everything is according to the VST3 specifications, both Wavelab and the plugins. It's just that they missed that little point. They should have told DAW creators that, or developers, that you need to compensate for this. Start the render, initiate the plugins 2 seconds before you start to write to a file, so that they're initiated when the file starts to be written to the hard drive, and it's all golden. It will work. All right, that's the rant. I hope you enjoyed that rant, and I hope there's a fix eventually, and have a good night, and I see you with the next plugin, which is probably solid. Whoa, it's so cool. Okay, see you later. Bye bye.